What's up guys? In this video I'm going to be running through how I made that Bicep-y breakbeat sort of track here in FL Studio. If you are using another program though, like Ableton or whatever, you can still follow along. You know, we're all friends here. So I'm just going to jump right into it and start with the drum beat, and that sounds like this. So it's in at 128 BPM, and I'm just going to quickly rattle through all the sounds that I used. So this is the kick. It's like a wee ghost snare. The main snares are made up of these three sounds. So I've got a rim shot, 808, and a clap. And the three of them together sound like this. So I just layered them up to help cut through the mix a bit. Now for the hats, got 707, and the open hat was the 909. These are the shakers. These are the sounds. And then it also has a percussive hit. I think that was just a rim shot. Bit of reverb on it. And this splash here was made up of a hi-hat that I pitched down an octave. And that was just layered up with the original clap. Now below that I've got this other rhythm here. And that started off as a drum and bass beat. Brutal. And I just stretched the sound out, which took the pitch down a bit. And I think the original loop sounded like this. And I just wanted to utilize these sort of quieter snares here. They're just kind of there to fill out the sound and yeah, just kind of beef up the rhythmical aspects. So it's kind of there just to fill up the dead space in between the original beat and just makes it sound a bit livelier. Now I'm not really going to go into the processing because it was super basic what I did on each one. Mainly just EQ to take out the frequencies I didn't need, put little boosts here and there just to make the sounds pop a little. The compressors were there to just knock up the gain on some of the sounds that are a bit quieter. And on some of them I had this convolution reverb. And that sounds like this without it. So it's quite subtle and just adds a bit of ambience, just so the drums don't sound as dry in the mix. And that's pretty much it. Cool. So just go on to the bass now. This was the main bass, the smooth bass. And that was just a sine wave and a pulse wave. Pulse wave was detuned a bit. Very simple sound, and I just had a wee bit of EQ. And that was a limiter, just doing some sidechain compression to the kick. Now I also included this sound in the song, just to give an example of what it might sound like if you're using like a shorter sounding bass. That was two sounds, so sub. That was the volume envelope. And this is the saw. So the saw bass, I had some distortion on it. Some flanger just to add a bit more movement in the sound. And EQ. So they're also pretty simple sounds. And that's it for the bass. So I'll just show you the pad sounds now. Now for the main two sounds, I just chose a preset from this free VST that you can get from Spitfire Audio called Synth Pads. And these sounds were originally sampled from actual hardware analog synths, as they sound really nice and warm, just straight out of the box. Pretty tasty. This is the first one. And the second one I layered up is just the same sound again, just playing higher notes. So that was more for the low end kind of pad sound, and the higher I made myself with the 3X oscillator. It sounds like this. Doesn't sound very nice to be honest, but it's just kind of there to add a bit of high end. And that was 3 saw waves. First two pitched down an octave, and then adjusted the fine tune just to detune them a little from each other, and then a wee bit on the third one as well. Then for the volume envelope, pretty slow attack, a bit decay, and quite a bit release. And this was the amp envelope for the filter. So it took off the highs a bit, and then just a bit decay and some release on that as well. So it's layered up all together, they sound okay. And that's it pretty much for them. The processing I had, so these are the first two. I thought they sounded okay as they were, but just added a bit of extra saturation and drive. Just had more fuzz to the sound, and then an EQ after that, just take off the lows. So that's with the tape. An EQ. And on the higher pads, I had an EQ, a bit of chorus, just to widen the sound a bit. That's a free VST as well. Sounds all right. All these that I'm using, I'll put a link in the description as well, just if you want to check them out. Bit of reverb and a filter. So that's without. Cool. So these other sounds I have here, these are kind of like leads. So this one here, I sampled from this pad. So I just played a C note and then recorded that into Edison. And I'll take off the effects here first, and then just looped it and stuck it into the sampler. So you can see it's pretty much the same. And then just change the volume envelope to make it more of a pluck. And then this was the Mod X. So I took down the filter a bit, added a bit decay without it. Just adds a bit more clickiness to the sound. And add some EQ. Bit of chorus. And this is just a volume envelope. Just kind of like a sidechain kind of sound to it. And the other leads. So just 2 saw waves. First, tune down 2 octaves, second down 1 octave, and that was the volume envelope. A bit decay, some release, and then this again just to make it more of a plucky sound. Oops, lost it. So together. Sorry, on that one I had some shimmer reverb as well. just to make it sound pretty spacey. And that was it for the leads. Cool. So onto the arps now. This is the first sound. And I'll just start by taking off the effects. Pretty simple. 2 sine waves. Second one's turned down 2 octaves. That was the volume envelope. And then had some reverb on that. Distortion. Then delay. This is Crush. This is a pretty simple, easy to use distortion VST. It sounds alright, and I'll chuck that in the description as well. So this is the other plug that I've got. And this one I used Just and Atlas as a kind of base to get this sound for. This is about as close as I could get using free plugins. You could probably do a lot better if you're using something like Diva or just something with more like a analog sort of sound. But I thought this was alright. This is just a square wave. That's the amp envelope for the volume. And this is where the kind of pluckiness comes from. So you just take the filter down a bit of resonance, and that's the Mod X filter envelope, and just a bit of polyphony. Too much. And that was pretty much it. Just a bit of chorus and reverb after that. When I was writing that, I started off with just the rhythm part. So I had the rest of the beat here and played in this here. So I just chucked a cowbell into the drum beat. And came up with this rhythm. And then sent that to the piano roll. And basically use that as a basis, and then move the notes around the piano roll within the key of the song, obviously here in the pluck. And then just added a few variations like these rolls here. And that was just an easy way to start off making your melodies. If, like me, you're not very good at sort of creating stuff and making it on the fly or playing it in an actual piano, it just kind of gives you somewhere to start off from. And you can work the other way as well. So maybe just play in a few random notes and then put in the rhythm after, or I don't know. Mess around with it. It's fun. And finally, I'm just going to show you the vocals here. So these are the first sounds. I just grabbed these off Splice. Some of them were in the key, some of them I had to tune, but because they were quite short, you can pretty much just use anything. And the processing I had was just a bunch of reverb, just to make it really shimmery, a bit of delay, and some EQ. That's with. So that's a pretty heavy bandpass, just taking out loads of the highs and lows. That's pretty much it for those. And these are the sort of chopped off sounding vocals. So for that sound, I just grabbed a bunch of stuff, just slower melodic kind of things. try and find something more Eastern vibey. That's, I found, more of a bicep-y sort of sound. This is the first one. And I just cut that up a little just to take out some extra notes in the middle, which didn't really go with the key. This one here is the same. I just duplicated it and changed the pitch just so it goes up. These will all be included in the project file, by the way. And if you're using Ableton or something, when you download the project, the samples will still be there. They just won't be in the project. They'll just be in the file. And this is the last one. So when I was editing them, I had EQ, shimmer reverb, take that off, bit filtering, and this is where the choppiness came from. So this is without. And with. So what this does is this creates like a volume automation, and each one of these beats, each one of these bars, sorry, is a beat. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think when I did this, I did the same technique as before. I just played the rhythm I wanted in on a cowbell, and then slowly and tediously put in these notes here. So as you can see, I started off with this trance beat here, which sounds like this. This is just a quick way of doing it, quicker way of doing it. Oops, lost it. And then I changed these as I wanted. So you can make them a bit longer, drop them up. And so I had this. So it's not the best way of doing it. You could also automate just the volume like this as you want. I'm sure there are better ways of doing this, but that's just how I did it. Nice and slow. And, oops. Oh, geez. Right, and that's it for the whole song, really. I hope you found it kind of useful. If you did, I would appreciate it if you give it a wee like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And in the description, I'll include the project file, a link to the whole song if you want to listen to that just for a reference, whatever, as well as all the VSTs and all that sort of stuff. So, cool. Thanks for coming, and hopefully see you in the next one. See ya.